Hi guys, on this installment of PJ Cooks Sexy Food, we're going to be making one of my favorite Sunday suppers. We're going to be making Shoemaker chicken, also known as chicken Scarpariello. It's chicken parts cooked with potatoes in a sweet and sour spicy sauce. It's absolutely delicious. It's one of my favorites to feed a crowd. So let's get started. So the first ingredient for chicken Scarpariello we need is chicken. What I have here is I have a whole chicken that I went and got from my butcher. It's about 3.5 to 4 pounder, and I asked my butcher to cut it into 10 pieces. How he did so is he cut off the drumsticks, the thighs, the wings, and then for the chicken breasts, he split them in half for me. So that this way we have even more pieces, and the chicken breasts being split will now cook more evenly. Next thing we're going to need is we're going to need 6 links of good Italian sausage. This is my favorite Italian sausage. It has fennel in it. I did make this a couple of weeks ago. There will be a recipe for this to follow in the near future on how to make this sausage. Okay, next up, we're going to need 1 cup of chicken broth, 3/4 of a cup of a good quality red wine vinegar. Don't chintz out on this one, get a good one. We're going to need salt and pepper. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I have about 4 to 5 large cloves of garlic that I went ahead and I cut into big slices. Remember, keep in mind when you do buy your garlic, the larger the clove, the less pungent it is, so you can get away with using more pieces of large garlic than you can with the smaller pieces. And with garlic, the finer you chop it, the stronger it's going to get. I also have 1 tablespoon of fresh rosemary, and I have 2 tablespoons of freshly chopped oregano. Okay, so what I have here is I have 1.5 cans of artichoke hearts that are quartered. I have 2 large suntan peppers that I cut into strips. If you can't get a hold of suntan, you can use green, you could use red, yellow, orange, whatever peppers you like. I just happen to like suntan because they change color and they're variegated like that, and they're really pretty. I have a couple of peeled carrots. These are a carrot medley that I bought. They came pre-peeled, ready to use. There's purple, there's orange, there's white. They each have a slightly different flavor profile, and I do like them. They're not in a traditional recipe, but I like adding the carrots because it adds more vegetable to this, and it stretches it to feed a large crowd. I have 1 extremely large white onion that I cut into thin slices. I have 4 cherry peppers, fresh cherry peppers, that I cut into thin strips. If you can't get a hold of cherry peppers, you could also use jalapenos. I wouldn't go anything hotter than those 2, because then you really it would be overkill. Then I also have 2 large white potatoes and 2 large red potatoes that I just went ahead. I cut them into quarters, I boiled them slightly. Just heads up, I also did partially boil those carrots so that this way they will cook evenly in the oven. And lastly, the main ingredient for this, or one of the special ingredients to this dish I should say, are peppadew peppers. These are these little red peppers. They usually come from Africa. They're in this really sweet brine. We're going to use 9 of the peppadews, and we're going to use about 1/3 of the cup of the juice that comes with peppadews. If you can't get a hold of peppadews, you can use jarred cherry peppers. You could also use pepperoncini, but when you use the brine, add some sugar to it just to make it sweet. So the first thing I did is I went ahead and I preheated my oven. I'm getting that up to 400 degrees. Now I'm taking my largest pan that I have here, and I added my 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to put that on medium heat, get that good and hot. So as our oil is heating up, I'm going ahead and I'm just drying off my chicken pieces here. And now I would just want to season liberally with salt and pepper. This step always seems familiar because this is always like the first step in any chicken dish you ever make. You always have to season it up, get it good and seasoned. And I'm not just going to season this side, I'm going to flip them over, season the other side. And I'll be back in just a moment after they're all seasoned. Okay, so my oil has gotten good and hot. It started to shimmer. Next thing I want to do is I want to put our chicken in the pan. I want to put it skin side down. You hear that sizzle, that's what we want. And what we want to do is we want to brown our chicken. We want to brown all these pieces on one side, flip them over, brown them on the other side. The browning should take about, I would say 5 minutes per side to brown this chicken. I want to get in about 5 pieces in at a time, and maybe 6 here. The last thing you want to do is you don't want to crowd the pan. If you crowd the pan, you're not going to get browning. The chicken is more going to steam. So I'm going to go ahead and brown this one side. I'll be back when it's time to flip it over. Okay, so we've been going for 5 minutes on the first side. You can see that beautiful golden color that we're getting on the chicken. That's exactly what we wanted. So we can go ahead and flip all these pieces over for now. And then we're going to cook them on the other side for another 5 minutes. So our first batch of chicken is beautifully golden. I'm going to go ahead and take this out of the pan. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in our second batch. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Okay, so now that all our chicken is nice and golden brown on both sides, we're going to set that off to the side, keeping our skillet over medium heat. Now what we're going to do is we're going to brown up that sausage. This is that beautiful, sweet Italian fennel sausage that we have here. And we're just going to brown this up on both sides just till it gets a little crispy on the outside. And that should take about 4 minutes aside. Keep in mind, we're not looking to fully cook the sausage. We're just looking to brown it and get some color on the outside and get it flavorful. So our sausage has been cooking for about 8 minutes. You can see how beautifully golden it is on. Now we're going to take that out of the pan. We're going to set the sausage off to the side. Now into the pan with this hot fat that we have from the olive oil, what rendered from the chicken, the sausage, we're going to throw in our peppers, our onions, our garlic, a little bit more black pepper, and some salt. Now with this recipe, I didn't give anybody an exact amount of salt and pepper to use because the amount of salt and pepper you should use for this recipe should be to your liking. So it's quanto basta, as much as you like. So now I'm going to take this, I'm going to keep this on a medium heat, and I'm going to cook this for about 10 minutes or so just until the vegetables start to soften. In the meantime, while our peppers and onions are cooking, I take out my large roasting pan. I'm going to sprinkle in my carrots that I have. I'm also going to sprinkle in those potatoes. We're going to start those on the bottom of the pan. And with those peppers and the onions, there was one ingredient that I did leave out, those sliced cherry peppers. I want to saute those in with the rest of the peppers and onions as well. So now with the potatoes and the carrots, I'm going to put that off to the side. I'm going to wait for the peppers and onions to cook down a little bit. Okay, so our peppers and onions are sauteing. It's been almost 10 minutes. Now I want to take our sausage and I want to cut it into nice chunks. Probably about 4 slices to each piece. Just like that. I'm going to put those off to the bowl on the side, and I'm going to go ahead and slice up all our sausage. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes. Our peppers and onions have softened, as you can see how nice they look. At this stage, now I want to add in the peppadews. I'm going to add in the red wine vinegar, chicken broth, the reserve brine from the peppadews, some of the most of the rosemary, most of the oregano, maybe a pinch more pepper, a little bit of salt. Now I'm going to return this to the heat and just get it to a simmer. Okay, so we've just come up to the simmer. Now we want to taste it. We want to taste that sharpness of the vinegar. We want to have a little bit of sweetness in the back. That's exactly how we want it. If you want a little bit sweeter, you can add a little more sugar. Here I could add a little bit more of the juice from the peppadews. That'll give it a little bit more sweetness. Now I'm going to put this off to the side and pull over our roasting pan. Okay, so we have our roasting pan that was lined with our potatoes and our carrots. Now we're going to pour everything we have here. The peppers, the onions, the vinegar, the chicken broth, the herbs, all that goodness, that sweet and sourness that we have, that we created. We're going to take that and mix it all together. Stir around the potatoes, stir around the carrots. We want everything to be nice and mixed up in this beautiful juice that we have on the bottom that we created. Doesn't that look how colorful this is? This is absolutely a beautiful dish. Now, I'm going to sprinkle in those artichoke hearts. Give them a gentle toss into everything. I didn't put them in earlier because I didn't want them to break apart. I like them whole. Now that they're all nice and tossed in, we have to put in our chicken and our sausage. Look at this pan. You could feed an army with the amount of food that we have here. When we get our chicken, we want to nestle it all the way into the vegetables so it's getting into that juice on the bottom, because that's going to soak up all that goodness. You can see how delicious this is going to be when it's all completed. Now once I get all the chicken in, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the sausage in to that as well. All the chicken is in. Any juice that accumulated in the bottom of the pan with the chicken, pour that in. That's more flavor. That's all delicious. Now let's go ahead, get our sausage in there, spread that around. Tuck that in any spot that there's an opening. Nestle that into the juice as well. Want everything to get well flavored with all this. Look at how much food we have here. Like I said, we're going to feed an army today. Give my hand a little rinse. That little bit of leftover rosemary and oregano I had, I just want to sprinkle that on the top of the chicken and on top of everything. So this way there's even more on top of that flavor. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to take this pan, we're going to pop this pan into our 400-degree oven that we had preheated for about 30 minutes until the chicken registers 165 degrees. So I'm going to pop this in right now. We'll see the finished product in a couple of minutes. Okay, so our chicken has been in the oven for about 45 minutes. You can see how beautifully golden brown everything is. Everything is just right. The sauce is a little thin, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this roasting pan over 2 burners. I'm going to let that reduce by half. Okay, so it's been on the stove for about 10 minutes on double burners. You can see the sauce below, how it reduced, how thick it has gotten, how delicious that is. We'll just spoon a little on top of each piece of chicken now. We don't want to put too much because we don't want to ruin that beautiful crust that we created. So there you go, chicken Scarpariello. Hope you enjoyed this recipe. I hope you tried it at home. Thank you for tuning in to PJ Cooked Sexy Food. We'll see you next time.